Hello guys, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where and when you are watching this video. So we want to have a brief discussion on the comprehensive tax system. It's a new taxation regime that has been put in place, and we have gotten so many questions. People are just confused about how to apply this new tax regime and to whom it is applied. So what we have done is we stated that before answering to your questions, what we will do is that we want to go through the law that is putting in place this comprehensive tax regime. We want to look at the law. What does the law state? What does the law say? Then from there, we are going to answer to your questions, and knowing that when we give answers to your question, you know clearly where our answers are coming from. So local tax. So what we are presenting now is coming from the local tax law that was signed by the head of state in December 2024, and which is in force since 1st of January 2025. We are not going to look at all the law. We are going to skip chapter 1, chapter 2, and we'll go directly to chapter 3 because that is our point of focus, the comprehensive tax regime. So we are going directly to chapter 3 and section 38. So section 38 of the local tax law states that a comprehensive tax is hereby instituted in full discharge of payment of the business license tax, the value-added tax, the personal income tax for industrial and commercial profits, as well as for agricultural profits. So here, a comprehensive tax is hereby instituted. So we are saying that a summary tax, we can replace that comprehensive like a summary tax, because it is made up, this tax now it's made up of many different taxes that were paid in the past that you are not going to pay again. You are just going to pay this comprehensive tax. So Impôt Général Synthétique means that what they have summarized many sub taxes into one, and they are saying that the taxes that have been summarized include, that is why when they say in full discharge of, we can replace it and say that in replacement of the business license is what was called patent, value added tax, personal income tax for industrial and commercial profits, agricultural profit. So when they say personal income tax for industrial and commercial profit, remember IRPP or PIT was calculated as a net categorical income, meaning that it is made up of many sub incomes that an individual receive. So among the sub incomes that constituted IRPP, we had what we call big benefits industriel et commercial, which is the industrial and commercial profits, as well as we had benefits agricole, which is the agricultural profit. So they are telling us here that now henceforth benefits industrial et commercial, industrial and commercial profits, as well as agricultural profits, will no more be taxed under IRPP, but they will now be taxed under comprehensive tax regime. So they have not they have not mentioned the flat rate system or the liberal tax impôt libératoire here, because the new system, this comprehensive tax regime, is following the same logic of the flat rate system, because the flat rate system was enterprises were classified into groups: category 1, category 2, category 3, category 4, or category A, B, C, and Z. So now there will be classes: class 1, class 2, class 3, right up to class 10. So that is it. So taxes, like if you are a business person having a turnover of less than 50 million, we are going to see it further. You are no more supposed to pay business license at the beginning of the year. You are not supposed to pay patent. You are not supposed to pay hygiene and sanitation tax. You are not supposed to pay the liberal tax. You are not supposed to pay, for example, the temporal public road occupancy tax. You are not supposed to pay all those taxes again. You just pay your summarized or your comprehensive tax per trimester, and that's all. So there are, because when they say the comprehensive tax has summarized many taxes that are supposed to be paid directly as one, we should not just conclude that we are not paying any other things. There are still many other taxes to be paid, amongst which we have taxes and service fees. So if you are carrying out a specific service which is not done by everybody, you need to pay the taxes relative to that particular service. You need to pay the taxes. Liquor license. So an enterprise that is dealing with liquor, alcoholic or non-alcoholic drinks, are still entitled to pay their license, what we call in French licence. They are still liable to pay. Withholding of taxes. Withholding of taxes. Remember, a tax withheld is not your taxes. It is the state money that you withhold. So A buys from B. B is the one who is liable. In French, we call him le redevable réel. D is the one who is liable to pay to support the impact of that taxes, but the state says that you are the legal person to pay. So when you are giving money to B, you are supposed to retain maybe 5.5% or 2.2%, depending on the the regime of the person, and you pay directly to the state. Likewise, if you are paying, for example, you are rent, you are supposed to still withhold taxes on rent, 15% of taxes on rent, and you pay directly to the state. Remember, the what we call précompte loyer, it is not your tax that you are paying, it is the landlord's tax that he is supposed to pay, but the state has authorized you to withhold it at source and pay directly. The state says that it is useless giving the landlord for the landlord to go and pay. You, when during paying, you withhold it. So in French, we will say that the landlord is the redevable réel, while the company is the redevable légal. So tax and employer charges on their employees. So if you are an enterprise or a company employing staff, you are still supposed to calculate taxes on their salaries and withhold it to pay directly to the state, as well as you are supposed to calculate your patronal charges, fiscal patronal charges, and pay directly to the state. So these taxes, they are still valid. It does not mean that as you have paid your comprehensive tax, you no more pay these taxes. So it should be clear like that. And it goes further to say that at the end of the year, people or persons or entities liable to comprehensive tax regime shall still be subjected to the annual filing requirement. So you are still supposed to do your statistical declaration, the fiscal and statistical declaration at the end of the year. You are supposed to still do your DSF at the end of the year, as stated in section 74 of the General Taxation Code. So, who are the persons liable? Who are the persons subjected to the comprehensive tax regime? The persons subjected to the comprehensive tax regimes are taxpayers engaged in a commercial, industrial, handicraft, or agropastoral activity not subject to the assessment based on actual earnings, with an annual turnover excluding taxes of less than 50 million. So if you are undertaking a business and you have not been automatically assigned to the actual earnings regime, regime du réel, the real regime, if you have not been automatically attached to the actual earning regime and your turnover is less than 50 million, then you will be liable to the comprehensive tax regime. So we can just say that the the comprehensive tax regime, those who are liable to the comprehensive tax regime are all business people or individuals whose annual turnover is less than 50 million. So the rates. So the comprehensive tax shall be assessed on the basis of annual turnover, excluding taxes. The basis of assessment is the annual turnover, the turnover from January to December. Cameroon fiscal law runs from January, fiscal year runs from January to December. So it is based on your annual turnover, excluding taxes. So this should be clear. It is not based on your capital. It is not based on your profit. It is based on your turnover. So just know the impact of this is that you are not going to play tricks again in order to increase your expenses, in order to reduce profit so that you pay lesser taxes. Yeah, it is on your turnover that you are being assessed. Whether you do a profit or not, it is on your turnover that you are going to pay your taxes. And increasing your charges has no impact on what you are supposed to pay. So people will be now more responsibly, they will do their accounting to see their true situation. People will not be required to keep two accounts again. So the rates, when we talk they talk about rates, but we'll be talking about the brackets, the turnover brackets. So it is stated that if your turnover, annual turnover, please, if your turnover is less than 500,000, please, if your annual turnover is less than 500,000, then your annual amount payable will be 20,000. So to know the amount that you pay each trimester, you take 20,000 divided by 4, and you have the amount that you pay per month. Likewise, if your turnover is equal to or above 500,000 but below 1 million, then your annual tax to pay will be 300,000, and you will take this 300,000 and you will divide by 4, and you have the amount to be paying per quarter, please. Same thing if your turnover is above 1.5 million and below 2 million, and so on and so forth, as you see the table like that. So all of those are the brackets, and you just take the amount, you divide by 4, and it is going to give you what you are supposed to pay each quarter. So the pending question here is, since this is the first year of application, so what is the turnover you consider? Are you considering a forecast turnover, or you are basing your turnover on the N-1 on 2024 annual turnover? So what I would advise is that base your turnover, unless you have new contracts, unless you have new long-term contracts, base your turnover, consider the turnover of 2024. Consider your annual turnover of 2024 to be your forecast turnover of this year, unless you have gotten new contracts, or unless there are circumstances that prove that your turnover is going to increase, or that your turnover is going to reduce. But what you will notice is that if you go to your online system, the taxation department has automatically assigned you to a particular class. So you will see they have put Impôt Général Synthétique in bracket, they have put a figure. Those figures refer to the class in which you are found. So if you look at the figure, you see the figure, you come on this table and you look at the turnover bracket in which that class belongs, and you see the amount, you know that that is the turnover. So you should report a turnover around that amount, but you should report something that is genuine, because at the end of the year there will still be compensation. So at the end of the year, if your real turnover is greater than the bracket in which you were found, you'll be reassigned to the new bracket, and you are going to pay the difference. You are going to pay the difference. Then if at the end of the year your total turnover is lesser than what you had stated, for that one, I can't really say. We have not been responded on what will be done in that case. So I can't really say until we have more information before we can say something in addition. So, for taxpayers liable for the comprehensive tax regime who are required to keep accounts, the comprehensive tax rate referred to in one above shall be reduced by half where they are registered in an approved management center. So if you belong to an approved management center, what we call centre de gestion agréé. So if you are registered in a centre de gestion agréé, an approved management center, then and that you are above, your turnover is above 10 million, then your taxes will be divided by half. Your taxes will be reduced by half. So if you were supposed, if your tax is 300, is 500,000, they'll consider that it is 250,000. That is what we mean. So they are pushing people to go towards the approved management center, what we call in French centre de gestion, the centre de gestion agréé. So we have the discharge tax declaration and assessment. So section 41 says, any taxpayer liable for the comprehensive tax shall submit against a receipt to the taxation center of the place of assessment not later than 15 March of each year a detailed declaration of income earned during the previous financial year on a form that will be provided by the tax administration. So we are still waiting for the form. At the moment which we are making this video, the form is not yet available to the public. So at the end of each year, apart of, remember that in section 38 of, it has already been said that all taxpayers, all persons liable to the comprehensive tax regime shall still do their annual filing as per section 74 of the General Tax Code. So in addition to that, we are still required to fill a form that will be provided by the tax administration, which we will put all the income that we received during the previous year. And this form should be submitted latest the 15th of March in the following year. So in the 15th of March 2026, I am supposed to submit a summary form of all my income of 2025. We are more interested on the income received, the turnover, not charges. So we don't care about the charges. The charges now will go to your statistical declaration, but not on this form. So without prejudice to the provisions of one above, without ignoring the provisions of paragraph 1 above, the comprehensive tax shall be paid quarterly. It is paid every after 3 months. That is the meaning of it is paid quarterly within 15 days of the end of each quarter, electronically according to the format prescribed by the tax administration. So be informed that this is already online. This is already online. You can already do your comprehensive tax declaration, and for the first quarter of 2025 you have latest the 15th of April. Please, the tax administration is trying as much as possible to digitalize this system and avoid personal contact, physical contact with the taxation workers, and by so doing they aim at reducing fraud. So please, it is better to follow the rules than to go to the taxation department. If you go to the taxation department, I assure you, you might end up spending in order to have to do something there. We understand ourselves. So we should, the best thing to do is to respect the rules as it is. The rules are not difficult. We should respect it as it is, so that we should not fall in a situation where we will need to bribe somebody to help us do something. So any taxpayers that has several establishments within the territory of several taxation center must, in addition to filing quarterly tax returns with each of the taxation center, submit a summary statement of turnover for each establishment to the taxation center with jurisdiction over principal establishment. So if, for example, CPAT Consulting is having an office in Vongbi and having another office maybe in Olembe and so on and so forth, you discover that those are different tax jurisdictions. So it means that CPAT Consulting is supposed to file individually to those various tax jurisdictions for each establishment to their respective tax jurisdiction. But since CPAT Consulting is under the tax division for Yaoundé 3, then STIPA needs to do a summary of its income, of its turnover, and submit for all its establishment and submit to Yaoundé 3. So I hope that is clear. Then the annual summary statement shall be subject to adjustment where necessary. So at the end of the year, they are going to be adjusted when necessary. That is why I was saying that if you at the end of the year your total income is greater than the class in which you were paying taxes, then you are supposed to be reclassified. You can be reclassified plus or you can be reclassified minus. What I am saying is that if you are reclassified plus, you are going to pay the balance. If you are reclassified minus, under normal circumstances, the state will not refund you, so it is going to be carried forward to the next exercise. So the comprehensive tax shall be paid per establishment where different activities are carried out by the same taxpayers. It shall be paid quarterly within 15 days of the end of each quarter by electronic means in accordance with the model prescribed by the tax administration. So I think that was just a repetition. So obligations of taxpayers. What are the taxpayers' obligations? So taxpayers liable for the comprehensive tax, even where exempted, shall be required to comply with the registration requirements set out in the manual of tax procedures. So you need to submit exempted. Even if maybe it is your first year and you have been exempted taxes, you need to declare. You need to declare. Any taxpayer liable for the comprehensive tax must, on request, provide the competent authorities with evidence of tax compliance by presenting what? A valid tax clearance certificate. So your tax clearance certificate should be readily available, what we call attestation de conformité fiscale. That is the tax clearance certificate. So you should have it already available. Note that it is better to do it after 3 months because it expires each 3 months and it is now payable. You now need to pay a fiscal stamp in order to print it. So what you do is that you make sure that you print for 3 months. Then after 3 months again, you can print it. And it's always good to print it and have it in hand because by the time you are controlled, if you don't have it and you cannot produce it at the moment of control, you are going to pay penalties. Full stop. They are not saying that, okay, internet is disturbing because I can't access. No, there will be nothing like internet is disturbing. At the moment in which you are being controlled, you should provide it. So that is just, I'm just trying to reiterate on it. So taxpayers liable for the comprehensive tax regime with a turnover equal to or greater than 10 million shall be required to keep accounts in accordance with the minimum accounting system provided for in the OADA Uniform Act on Accounting Law and Financial Reporting. So those that will be obliged to keep accounts following the minimal cash accounting system are those whose turnover is equals to or greater than 10 million. So the accounting data referred to in one above shall be presented at the request of the tax authorities. So penalties or sanctions. So failure to pay comprehensive tax within the time limit specified above shall lead to closure of the business and a penalty of 50% of the tax amount due without prejudice to other penalties. So if at 15 of April 2025 you don't declare the taxes for the first quarter, then your taxes will be increased by 50%. So if you had to pay 10,000, you will now pay 15,000. That is the first thing. Then the tax authorities are saying that if there are other taxes that are applied, if there are other penalties that are applied in this your non-payment, you will still pay again. So it's not only this 50%. So they're just trying to be prudent. Because if they say 50%, somebody can use this law and say that no, it's only 50%, whereas there might be other penalties that you are subject to. So we should be very careful. It is better to respect this law than to be negotiating to pay an additional amount later. So failure to present a tax clearance certificate shall lead to closure of the business and a fine of 25,000. So this is what I was saying. If they come to your establishment, to your organization, to your enterprise, and they ask for the tax clearance certificate and you don't have what we call attestation de conformité fiscale, and you don't have at that moment, and you are unable to print it, because at least you can print that I am looking for it, where I file it, but while waiting, let me print it. You can print it and it comes out. But if you go to print it and the online system is disturbing, it is not their problem, it is your problem. So you are going to pay 25,000. If not, they close your business immediately. Even though they have said here the closure of the business and a fine of 25,000. So they'll close your business and they'll ask you to pay a fine of 25,000, and they'll open your business only when you must have presented the tax clearance certificate. I hope it is clear. And you know that at the end of the day, you will not pay only 25,000, because when they will lock your office, when they lock your business, you go and bring your tax clearance, you go and submit, that is already paying transport to go to the taxation office to submit your tax clearance, to show them the tax clearance, that is already cost, and they are going to program to come back and open your office, which is another thing. So at the end of the day, we understand you might need to be begging them from behind to come and open your office quickly, which might still cost you money. One never knows. I'm not saying anything. Je dis ça, je ne dis rien, but it is better to comply. However, failure by street vendors and haulers to provide evidence of tax compliance shall result in seizure of non-perishable movable goods or vehicles and their retention at the council. So they'll impound their goods in accordance with the relevant rules and procedures. So remember, those that are selling maybe in a vehicle, so they are hawkers. Those that are hawkers that are selling, those that are selling by the road, like you see, there are some business guys that have their kenkairis on the truck. They put it beside the road. So if they come at that moment and they say, show me your tax clearance certificate, and you don't have at that moment, then they are just going to seize your goods and they take it to the local council directly. That's where it will be. It will not go to the taxation office. It will go to the local council. If you are selling goods with your vehicle, if you are selling goods with a vehicle, it's not that they're asking for the tax clearance certificate for the vehicle, but it is for the goods that you are selling in the vehicle. So it should not be misinterpreted and people start asking, you see a vehicle on the road, you stop and ask for a tax clearance certificate. No, the minister stated clearly that for non-business private vehicles, private use vehicles or private vehicles are not supposed to present any tax clearance certificate. So also note that if if your goods are perishable, like if you are selling fruits, for example, if you are selling your pomme de France beside the road, it will be very difficult, even humanly, it will be very difficult for the tax people to seize your good, because if they seize it, they go and it will get bad. So at the end of the day, they are going to lose the tax and they are going to lose the commodities. So failure by taxpayers liable for comprehensive tax to keep account shall result in closure of the business and a tax penalty of 1 million. So if they come to your entity, you are supposed to keep accounting and you were not keeping accounting, they'll ask you to pay 1 million. And as I'm saying here, you will pay the 1 million. You will pay because it is being stated on your your online account So it's not something that you'll be negotiating behind with somebody. You pay the 1 million, and at the end of the day, when you pay the 1 million, you might end up paying again something for them to unblock your system. So be very careful. It is cheaper to comply than to bribe. So, where positive data indicate that a taxpayer liable for comprehensive tax has a turnover of more than 50 million, such taxpayer shall be liable for business license tax and assessed based on actual earnings. So this, they are saying that if your turnover is greater than 50 million, so you can try to trick the tax administration by doing everything to put your turnover to be less than 50 million because you want to be under the comprehensive tax regime. But immediately they discover that they have data that shows that your tax or your turnover was greater than 50 million, then they are going to tax you following the real regime, the actual earning regime. I hope this is clear. So this is all about the comprehensive tax regime that I wanted to share quickly with you people. And I hope some of your questions are clarified, but we are there. Cheaper Consulting is there to assist, to help you do the interpretation and assist you so that you don't fall in the range of those who will be paying penalties or those who will be paying bribe. But I have equally added some deadlines here because the deadline itself was a confusion. By the time we communicated that the latest day for the payment of the Impôt Général Synthétique is the 15th of March, some people came to us and said, no, it was written by the tax administration that it is May, 15th of May. So there are confusion on dates. And so we have we have opted to equally clarify some important dates for the payment of uh, taxes. So for comprehensive tax, what we call Impôt Général Synthétique, it is being paid quarterly. It is being paid quarterly on the 15th of the 15th of the month that follow the end of the quarter. So for example, normally 15th of January is supposed to be the last. So for January, February, March, the latest date to pay is 15th of April. For April, May, June, the latest date to pay is July 15th. For July, August, September, the latest date to pay is October 15th. For October, November, December, the latest date to pay is January 15th. Tax on agricultural profit, the latest date to pay the latest date to pay this for moral persons, the latest date to pay is each month by the 30th of June each year. So you can opt to be paying each month the 15th of the month that follows. You pay that of the previous month, or you can equally opt to pay one time per year at the 30th of each month. Then taxes on industrial, commercial, and artisanal profits. So here is the 15th of each month or by the 30th of each year. By the 30th of each year. So why are they saying 30th of each year? Because when you see the payment of IRPP falls as from these dates. That's where the payment of IRPP falls for non-professional, the regime that was non-professional at first, which will the regime that was non-professional in the past. So this is where it falls. It's from June, July, August. So tax on profit of non-commercial profession. Non-commercial profession are professions that do not buy and do not buy to sell, but they render services. They are professional orders, they are lawyers, and so on and so forth. So it's the same logic, 15th of each month or by June 30th of each year. Taxes on income from financial asset. So same logic, because you will discover all those ones that are having the same days are taxes that fall under IRPP. Just take note. There are taxes that fall under IRPP. So you can be declaring it this date or this particular date. But This one again is going to be redefined again because there are dates that are contradictory to this. There are dates that have been published by the tax administration, but that are contradictory to some of these dates. So taxes on salaries, wages, and life annuities. So it is 15 of each month or latest by June of each year. But then tax on real estate, tax on real estate income. So tax on real estate income is taxe sur le revenu foncier. Income, revenue. You are renting a house. You are letting a house. You are renting a piece of land. They are renting. Maybe the petrol station is renting your land to do your petrol, or they are renting your land to do a car wash, or you are renting. You have a building that you are renting, and people are paying rent, and so on and so forth. It is the 15th of each month that you are supposed to declare the taxes. 15 of each month. There is nothing or, there is no or there. It should be seen clearly that there is no or there. License. Your license is to be paid February 28th of each year for those uh, who are subject to license. Tax withholding on rent. So tax withholding on rent, as I said earlier, it is not your tax, it is your landlord's tax. It is supposed to be paid 15 of each month. So 15 of each month if you are paying rent each month. If you are paying rent per year, you pay it once. If you are paying rent per quarter, you pay it per quarter. If you are paying rent each month, then you pay it per month. So this is flexible, even though they have put it like that. It's just that they put the least one. There is no reason you should withhold the state money and you don't pay immediately. You don't pay. If you have to keep it, then $1 today is not up. 1 franc today is not equal to 1 franc tomorrow. So you pay interest on it. So immediately you have it before the 15th of next month. Please pay state money to them. So tourist tax on accommodation establishment, meaning that hotels and the like, 15 of each month. So those are the deadlines. So I hope it is clear now and people will not be confusing the different dates again. And all these dates has nothing to do with their statistical and fiscal declaration dates. Your statistical and fiscal declaration dates, you have 15 of March, 15 of April, and 15 of May. Those are the 4 days that you have for your statistical and fiscal declaration, which is set based on the tax center in which you are based, whether it's Direction des Grandes Entreprises, whether it's SIM or whether it's CDI. So I hope everything is now very clear. Thank you very much. Please like, comment, share, and ask your questions. Do not forget to follow us for other videos that we'll be doing only in English. Thank you and goodbye.